Ramon Foster Show, brought to you by the Get-Go Cafe and Market, where they're open 24/7 serving hot, fresh food. Mon, I would say happy Friday, but I know before we started recording here that we're in pretty lousy shape today mutually, huh?
We are, man. I got a little bit of a stomach bug going on. The Pepto-Bismol tablets kicked in on me just now. I got a ginger ale. I don't think it's a virus. I ate. You've been in this situation before. I ate a late dinner last night, and then I went to bed because I was just like, all right, I got to get up in the morning. I should have stayed up and let it settle. Lo and behold, I'm sitting here with the feeling that I knew exactly what it was going to feel like last night. So
you're carrying it around with you. It's a carryover from the previous night. See, I'm just totally out of it. But you know what? That's the beauty of doing this show daily now, is that people get to see the good and the bad. And here comes.
And you know what would happen? You know what would happen if I was on a roster and the team was in that situation? All right, let's get you an IV, some Pepto-Bismol, and we'll see how you feel in the morning. You're playing this weekend, right?
There you go. And you know what? That would exhibit some serious leadership on someone's part. And that's what we're going to talk about in this opening segment. The offense of the Pittsburgh Steelers would appear to have absolutely no one that you would say is the leader. I mean, their best players are going to be going into their second year. The offensive lineman just walked in off the street. The wide receivers, you know how they are. Wide receivers don't lead. They can't even lead themselves.
No.
Who's going to be the leader of this offense? Somebody has to do it.
Golly, man. The oldest playing veteran on the offensive side of the mind, aside from Chris Boswell, because he's offensive.
Nah, special teams. You can't take that route.
That's the only route I got. It's Derek Watt, though.
And he didn't even play.
Exactly. So when it comes down to start talking about leadership, it's not going to come down to years. It's honestly going to come down to the guys that's been told all their lives, you are a leader of this team. You are the leader. They're going to follow you. And the only other person that really pops out to me, honestly, would be Mr. Trubisky, because he's the quarterback and it's expected. I would say Mason or friggin' Dwayne Haskins, but both of them are fighting for their lives too, as far as trying to stay relevant on this roster. It really legitimately, I think, comes down to, or will be the focal point with being the offensive line. At least that's my hopes and dreams of it, DK, is those guys have the biggest group, they're the largest group, and they have a few guys that's played a good bit in this league too, especially with some of the new free agent guys that have been signed. It's really up to that group to say, follow us. And they're going to have to work like it. The offensive line coach is going to have to demand it from them, because the offense is super, super young. Like, I don't know if it was ever this young it's whole crazy. Time I was playing. Yeah. No, at least you had Ben or Heath or somebody or myself to push the average up a little bit. And they have none of that. We're talking about Derek Watt being the oldest guy on offense, and you barely even use him, and he's mostly a special teams guy. So who would I ask it to be? I think it'd have to be Mr. Trubisky to start with, if it's job to lose, or the entire unit of the offensive line. It has to be those guys, man. Mason Cole, been a new young guy that's been signed on this team too. And Chooks is a guy who's a second contract guy. I was having a conversation with him yesterday. He may be in the process of, he's house hunting a little bit in Pittsburgh. And I told him, I said, look, you got to make sure you get a big enough backyard so when you start hosting the guys over, there's enough room. Like, you think that's a part of it.
You think Chooks would be the hosting guy? I've never seen that from him.
He would, because all he's got to do is open up his doors, and he's not a big talker for the most part. And
he can pick his house in Pittsburgh right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, you doggone right he can.
Okay.
But really, I'm looking at Mason Cole, James Daniel, and Chooks of being the guys that really kind of lead this group.
I'll tell you what, Moan. I'll tell you what. James Daniels spoke with us last week. My goodness, did this individual make an impression? Mm-hmm. He reminded me of, and then you'll appreciate this comparison, of a young Kelvin Beachum whenever he showed up. in Pittsburgh. And Beach, for anybody who doesn't know, is a minister. And Beach could let it fly when he needed to. Okay. Like he wasn't supersede the guys who were on the offensive line with the respect that they earned and whatever. Marquise Pouncey was obviously the leader of the group and everything, but Beach could let it fly. And I wonder if this couldn't be that type of situation.
And you know what? I think it'll vocally have to come through him and potentially Mason Cole too, depending on what their characteristics are or of how, what type of people they are to do that type of stuff. But it's got to be that group. I love to say Deontay, but he's still super young to where he's honestly fighting for a contract, trying to figure himself out too. I'm going Mitch, sadly to say, because I know some people don't like that. Yeah. Mitch and offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, isn't it the case that whoever your quarterback is kind of has to be your leader? I mean, it's just, they're calling out the signals. They're the ones that are saying the last thing when you break the huddle.
And they are, and I think he understands it too. And also the fact that he's been in a couple other spots before he's gone to Pittsburgh. So he's seen how different locker rooms work. And I say in Chicago, he probably was a part of I don't want to call them toxic, but it was probably a little bit instability, especially with decisions to play him and not play him. And, just watching them perform a little bit was one of the things he experienced in Chicago. And then to go to Buffalo and be there for 1 year, but watch how it was ran smoothly with an offensive coordinator and Brian Daboll who gets a head coaching job and being under him and how, he worked with the head coach there and watching the quarterback, Josh Allen, develop a little bit. So he has more understanding of what this league demands of you. But at the same time, it's like he's going into a locker room where it was announced nationally that he got signed to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he's got to bring all of that experience with him because he knows more than those other guys in that locker room, man. And it's got to start with the quarterback, as cliche as it is. Why not be one of those 3 guys, maybe 4 guys if they draft another person? Got to continually throw that out.
And then again, when it comes to leadership, I'm always reminded of a quote I asked many years ago. This was after a Pirates game in Cincinnati. And I asked Lloyd McClendon, basically, where is your leadership going to come from in that clubhouse, motioning my head in that direction? And he said, you're looking at it. Oh, okay. Well, there is that too. The coordinator is the leader of the offense. The head coach is the leader of the whole thing.
Exactly. But you don't want it necessarily everything to come from them. You want it to be enforced by the coordinators or the head coach. But no.
When we come back, when, if ever, are the Steelers going to secure this other safety of theirs? Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. The Steelers continue to either search for safeties or not, meaning someone to play with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Terrell Edmonds last night on Twitter, and yes, we have reached the point where we study our news this way, changed his bio to just say God's child. He eliminated all references to the Pittsburgh Steelers, changed his avatar so that he's not shown in a Steelers uniform. He retweeted Paris Ford, the former Pitt player, a Paris Ford tweet in which Paris Ford says, I'm going to make him regret switching on me. That's not a player who's coming back, is it, Moan?
All that's happened is Pittsburgh's probably told him, man, hey, look, go find you the best deal because we'll be waiting right here for what we've offered you right now. That's the business. Go find something. I'm sure it's probably ticked them off a little bit. Got them to the point, it was like, I gave you guys my all, and that's true. I've even felt like that in my negotiation, like, dang, I can't get an extra $1 million or $2 million. That's part of it. But safeties it's hard to really kind of justify having more than 1 or 2. Whenever most of the times they'll pull the safety off the field and put a Mike Hilton type out there, put a Cam Sutton type out there, because the league has gotten so much better as far as passing the ball down the field that you kind of have yourself in a position like, well, I need probably more corners than I need a safety. And unless you're a very dynamic guy like Minkah Fitzpatrick, man, that mark is very, very low for you. Heck, we just saw Landon Collins get cut after signing a monster deal with the Washington Commanders. So what are you going to do? I almost feel like with the emergence of this passing game, to have a guy that's a safety only and not being able to play in the box or not being able to cover great is a huge detriment to that position. We're seeing right now linebackers being able to play basically an in-the-box safety position. Like, think about the guys that you'll have. One of the reasons I think they went after Devin Bush is why? His 4.4 time, able to cover in space when given the ability, and he's healthy and he's side to side. That's what safeties were for the most part. And I, respectfully say that, but excuse me, that's exactly what it is. It's I'll get a linebacker that can do your job as effectively, or I'll get another cornerback that's very cheap, that's willing to play in that position and do some of the dirty work that you were asked.
My goodness. The idea that they would have told Edmonds that here's the contract, we're laying it out there, go ahead and top it.
Yeah.
That is a stark sign that the market never formed for him and that the Steelers are aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
It also tells me, though, because, for all the fantasizing that's happening here right now about Tyrann Mathieu and everything else here, that I don't know that the Steelers are prioritizing the other safety that much in general.
No doubt about it, man. I think it's good for the team to keep Minkah. I think Minka's pretty damn good too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Question.
But like you said, Tyrann Mathieu, he's not signed right now at the safety position. I think that adds a whole lot, and he's a really good player, unless he's just waiting to choose, the right destination for him after everything settles with free agency and the draft and whatnot. But that's a harsh reality, man, of playing that position. You better be very doggone flexible when it comes down to playing safety. Like, if you're not big enough or if you're not physical enough to play linebacker, if you're going to be a safety, you better make sure your cover skills are A1, because there is no substitute for being able to cover in a passing league now. And not only just in NFL, but we're speaking of college. We're speaking of high school type guys that, look, you better be able to cover and not get DPIs.
No question about that. And, I can't help. Don't laugh this off. And you'd be the last one actually to do this, just based on when somebody was drafted, of course. But Trey Norwood impressed the Steelers more than I think a lot of people realize. Now, he's a seventh round pick from last year, but he got onto the field and he made his presence felt out there.
Yeah.
He's 22 years old.
Yeah.
And if they like him as much as I think that they do, and he did have an interception and 4 pass defense as well, in addition to being a reliable contributor and primarily on special teams and everything else here, maybe the Steelers are just saying to themselves, listen, we're only going to commit X number of dollars to this position. If we don't get what it is that we want, we'll just go with this kid and we'll go with what we like and make sure that he can support Minkah in what Minkah does, and then give Minkah all the money.
The other part of it too is he played at Oklahoma, and the Big 12 is a known passing league. So he's had to cover a whole lot in his short career.
Bombs.
Yep.
Yeah. And what do you want mostly out of that guy back there?
Take him out.
Make sure you can be Ken Griffey Jr. and play some center field.
Absolutely.
I think this is going to be a really interesting thing to watch. It looks like a hole to almost everyone else, and maybe it doesn't over on South Water Street. When we come back, another fun episode of Hey Little Foster. Back to the Ramon Foster Show. It's time for what used to be known as the Hey Moan segment, but as of Moan coming clean on all of his various nicknames that he had over the course of his life, and one of those being the Little Foster, Jim, because there was a big Foster, it turns out, in the family. This is now the Hey Lil Foster segment, and it comes from Carla, who says, disappointingly, "Hey, Moan!" Coach T always says, "New season, new team, and a new journey," when anyone asks him to compare anything from years past. So, how much really changes on the team from year to year other than the names?
So much. And that is a great question, by the way, too, because people say it all the time and nobody really answers what that means. You just kind of understand, well, this is exactly what it is, and for the most part, the turnover isn't just crazy. For the majority of my time, the offensive line room pretty much stayed the same. But when you think about, what differs is guys get a little bit older. You going into 1 year, guy leave out of the season completely healthy, but Father Time captures all, right? And a guy might train a little bit different and tweak an injury or tweak a ligament here during this workout. So he starts the season off injured. Some guys might end up coming back from ACL injuries, for the next season that was a stud on your team the year before. You might have a quarterback that's ending the season on I'm talking about a great season. Walks into the next year, guess what? Has an elbow problem. That's why every year is different from year to year. Is not necessarily the team or even the people, because you're going to ask the same things from each player or each person playing those positions. It might be a different coach. The philosophy of the team might change a little bit as far as what we're going to do offensively or defensively. There might be a different coordinator. There's different position coaches. There's differences in the way guys perform. So to say 1 year is the same as the next year is totally different. Even if you're only changing 10 players on your roster, it's just the demand is different. I knew going into year 10 of my career, I was a little bit different than year 9. And I knew, and year 11 was totally different from year 9 or 10, because it went from me, and I'll tell anybody, me recovering on a Thursday till it was Friday. And then it was Saturday. I was like, okay, it's game time. Then in my last year, towards the end, I was like, man, Sunday morning, now I finally feel ready. So the output on certain guys and how the season takes a toll and how the workload of the season kind of sits on you a little bit different. You can't say, we'll run it back. Think about it. Tampa tried to do that, and they didn't. They couldn't. And every year is totally different because of those things.
Boy, Tampa's a perfect example, too. There was no carryover.
None. And honestly, truth be told, think about Kansas City. They were in place for the most part. And even recently with the trading of Tyreek Hill, that team's not the same.
No. And this is where I think when Carla uses the word journey in her question, that is one that comes from the head coach constantly. Okay. This is a journey. We're on a journey here. Well, I'm going to tell you the difference between you athletes and we reporter types. We reporter types see the journey line from Tomlin as being a defense mechanism, meaning he doesn't want to answer questions about the past. He doesn't want to link things from the past to the team. Whereas that's an honest sentiment from him. I believe that. Yeah. We see it as avoiding hard questions like, Coach, you haven't won a playoff game in a lot of years.
Yeah.
What's the problem here? You're not going to get an answer. He's going to give you something about this coming Sunday's opponent or last Sunday's game. And he doesn't acknowledge patterns that carry over from season to season. The thing is, I also know that that's how he deals with the players.
It is. The only thing he'll tell you, the most consistent thing he'll tell anybody is physical conditioning precedes anything else, which means train your ass off. Do what you got to do. And whenever you get to Latrobe and whenever we get to the regular season, if we're well conditioned, meaning lifting weights, conditioning, strengthening your mind as far as what you need to do going into the season, everything else will handle itself. And that's the only thing you can really control, because the way the schedules are set up, some teams got games broken up one by one. And some teams have stretches of 5 just number 1 teams that are fire freaking hot. And there is nothing you can do about it other than, all right, let's bang them out as they come. That's why when it says each journey is different, it really is. There's certain teams that are surprise teams. I don't think nobody expected friggin' Cincinnati to do what they did. That's a part of the journey, you know, like Pittsburgh getting beat by them. Nobody expected that with a second-year quarterback who tore his ACL the year before.
But the Cincinnati journey is over. That's my point.
Yeah.
Okay, they go into next season. They've already lost a couple of key guys on defense.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have different questions that arise. I just believe that with this head coach, I'm going to give you another fun example here. Devin Bush was quoted not all that long ago as saying, I don't even start thinking about next week's opponent until Wednesday.
Yeah.
All kinds of people rain down on him. What do you mean? You know, whatever. And I'm thinking, you have no idea how this head coach controls that messaging. Okay. Monday is the day you celebrate. Tuesday is the day you start getting the gears over. You start looking back. And Wednesday is what?
It's a new week.
It's the new week.
It's a new week.
That comes from the head coach. Doesn't mean the player was goofing off.
No, that's absolutely normal, honestly. And that's even after a great win or a bad loss. You got those 48 hours to get it out your system. Like when you walk in those meeting rooms, just whatever you did, player of the week, yeah, cool story. We're on to the next one.
It's over.
It's over.
That game never happened. The only way you know that game happened is outside the Steelers locker room on the south side. They have those pictures hanging that they put up every week from the previous game. That is it.
That's all that matters.
Yep. Otherwise, it's Jacksonville week or Baltimore week or whatever it is.
Yep. And the series of somebody winning a Super Bowl. I mean, think about it. A team can win a Super Bowl, and what's the consistency of a team losing that opening game? You know, like every journey is different.
No question. Well, this journey doing this show every day, Mon, we made it through this one. You know?
I like this. Absolutely.
Pepto-Bismol kick in?
It did a little bit, man, but you can see the difference in my face. I'm a little off right now.
I can, but I'm questioning it a little bit because there can be an adrenaline factor. I mean, this show is really,
Yeah, I mean, we're rolling. We're rolling.
Those of you who like what you're seeing/hearing, feel free to leave one of those positive, bubbly reviews with many stars. They make a difference. They really do. And we appreciate everybody who's watching and listening to this. We'll be back Monday. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, have a good, safe weekend.
Good, safe weekend indeed.